Today we are interviewing a good friend of ours, Ryan Patri,
Thank you.
and we are going to learn a lot about mortgage protection. So what is mortgage protection?
All right, thank you for having me, Crystal and Kylie. Well, mortgage protection is a supplement to a life insurance policy you may have, and if you don't have, we can add it to cover a mortgage balance in case, when you pass away, the burden on the beneficiary doesn't have to pay off with using what they use for income replacement, so they can have that extra pay off the mortgage, one less thing they have to worry about.
Okay, and I know you were asking what happens if you buy and sell a property?
Right, so I get that question a lot. It is not tied to a specific property. So what you do is you would get a term or a whole life to cover the amount of mortgage for a house example. If you were to decide to sell that house and you bought another house, you could still keep the same policy because the money can go to anything you buy. If you buy it for mortgage protection and decide later on you pay off the house early and you still have it, that's just going to be extra money that you put towards something else. So it's not tied to one thing. It's just an idea, something you can put in a will or so forth as well.
Okay. And also, when you go to sell your property and you owe a balance, for the sale of your home, can you use the mortgage protection to cover any of the costs?
Yes.
To pay the mortgage?
So that's where the difference between a term and a whole life will be. A term just has a straight coverage, it doesn't grow. A whole life will have the growth, and that's the difference you can make out of it. So if you have a cash value supplement that you've had for 20 years and it grows just to, say, example, $100,000, and you decide, hey, I'm gonna sell a property and I still owe $100,000, you can pull out that $100,000 tax-free if you have it in your cash value and use that to pay off the remainder balance.
Awesome.
Oh, wow.
Right.
So how does that really differ from traditional life insurance that you already have? Why would you go that route versus just getting a larger amount of life insurance?
Sure. You can do it either way. So the reason why I add that on is because sometimes people may have a life insurance before they have a mortgage or didn't know about mortgage protection. For you to go and get a higher coverage, you may have to do another health rate. It might jump on your thing. So it's kind of one of those things, I just leave it there. You already have a good fixed amount on it. Keep it going. And then if you know that, hey, I'm not worried about the growth, or I'm not worried about the income replacement later on, maybe just a term would be good, and it's a lot cheaper.
Okay. Awesome. And we know that we've had conversations about, child protection.
Correct.
So can you explain to us what that entails?
Absolutely. So especially these times, the holiday times, a lot of people go and they buy these, I like to say juvenile custom whole lives. It's a regular whole life insurance policy on your child, and there's limited to none underwriting. So you can go in there and answer a couple medical questions, and a policy can come through within the next 48 to 72 hours. The benefit is it's a lot cheaper because they're young and the health rate is not as high. And second, it keeps that insurability for the future. You really don't know what can happen in the next 15 to 20 years that can hinder that. And I always like to tell people the premium is as cheap as today. It means the older you get, the more expensive it's going to get.
Yeah.
So if you can get something as young as a child and kind of bring that to them in the next 15, 20 years, and then they can add to at that point, it's a gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
Does it, are there any other perks involved with it? Can they use it at any point in time?
Absolutely. So what a lot of my clients do, they use it to help with their college expenses. We do have college funding like 529s, but sometimes normally those are tied to straight education. If you have a child that gets a scholarship, or they decide they don't want to go to college and they want to go do something else, that's money that can be used for anything else. It's tax free when you pull it out because this comes from after tax dollars, and nobody will ever ask what it's for. You can do it to buy a home.
Nice.
Imagine you have a child who's 5 years old, you start one on them. They're 40 years old and they have this cash value that's been just been building for the last 35 years, and then go and, if not pay half of the mortgage, at least put a good decent down deposit on the mortgage.
Yeah, absolutely.
That sounds like a great plan.
Yeah.
All right, so another, I think maybe one of our last questions has more to do with like a retirement buffer. You mentioned that, and that's obviously appealing to, I feel like, our generation, because we all want to retire someday.
Right. So another tool we can use with cash value whole life is retirement buffer. So what I like to do is I like to customize a whole life where if you know I'm going to retire at 65 years old and my pension is going to give me $3,000 a month, Social Security is going to give me $2,000 a month, but I still want to live off of $9,000 a month. Where would I get that other $3,000 to $4,000? Well, if you would have a custom whole life or a regular whole life from before, you can actually customize it where you start withdrawing that money tax-free for a certain amount of years. So let's say 10 to 20 years. So it gives you that extra that you need on top of everything to continue the lifestyle you want to live, especially with inflation going up. What $1,000 today may not be $1,000 in 20 years.
Right. That's the truth. All right, well, sounds good. Well, if any of y'all have any questions about mortgage protection, life insurance, retirement buffers, send us your questions. We can get you connected to Ryan. He's a great resource, and you can start getting that coverage for yourself and your family.
Thanks for your time.